Our next guest is a real sophisticated lady. In fact, she starred in the Duke Ellington play of the same name on Broadway. She's been known to make grown men weep with her beautiful singing voice. But
how would you describe yourself as a woman trying to deal with life in the 80s? You said your album is a reflection of that single woman.
Well, I don't deal with it very well.
Lionel Hampton, the great Lionel Hampton, compared her recently to Ella Fitzgerald and put her in the same vocal category as Sarah Vaughan. She has a new album called Living All Alone.
PHYLLIS HYMAN, a.k.a. the Love Goddess, the sophisticated lady, was the real deal when it came to being an artist. She wasn't just belting out tunes. She was serving up emotions that hit you right in the feels. Her voice, simply magical, dripping with soul and depth that could melt even the iciest hearts. Phyllis didn't just tell a story, she made you live it. And even after the music stopped, you'd be left thinking about all the feels she didn't spell out. Now that's what you call raw talent. Standing tall at 6 feet, Phyllis wasn't just heard, she was seen. She was pure elegance and power, turning heads and making jaws drop every time she stepped on stage. She was basically stage royalty, and everyone knew it.
I'm over 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
I'm not a thin woman. I'm not afraid to show my figure.
But Phyllis wasn't just another stunning face with pipes to match. She was sharp, confident, and could steer through the tough-as-nails music scene. She was all about pushing for freedom for minorities, and she spoke her mind loud and clear. Not everyone loved that, though. Some folks thought she was a threat, while others felt she was just too wild to tame. She terrified them as much as she intrigued them. She was a wild card. Take Clive Davis, for example. He wanted her to ditch her soulful style for the pop sound that was all the rage back then. But Phyllis was having none of it. She wasn't about to compromise her artistic integrity just to fit in.
Guess what? I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not doing it.
I'm starting to get real fond of you. Real fond.
I'm not doing it.
She wasn't just battling the music game and the powers that be, she was also dealing with bipolar disorder, which made the pressure to change super intense for her. It wasn't just about the music. It was about her mental health and self-worth. Phyllis was all about keeping it real and staying true to herself, no matter what the industry threw at her. She stood her ground and fought against the industry's demands with everything she had.
I don't have to show my body to make a living. Thank God I'd be a poor child. I would be broke.
She was the eldest of 7 kids, born to Philip, a World War II vet, and Louise Hyman, a nightclub waitress. She started life in Philly but grew up in the South Hills of Pittsburgh, with roots tracing back to her great-grandparents, Ishmael and Cassandra Hyman. Phyllis had a family history as rich as her voice. After leaving Pittsburgh, Phyllis kicked off her music journey at a local music school. Fresh out of school, she hit the road with a group called New Direction in 1971. When that gig ended, she bounced around with other local bands like All the People and the Hondo Beat. Oh, and she even popped up in the movie Lenny in 1974. Yeah, she was also Miss Versatile. Apparently, in '75, Phyllis led a band named PHYLLIS HYMAN and the PH Factor, and caught the attention of music bigwigs Sid Maurer and Fred Frank, who signed her to their Roadshow Records Desert Moon label. Moving to NYC was a game changer for Phyllis. She started singing backup for John Lucian's Premonition and wowed crowds in local clubs. That same year, the stars aligned when Norman Connors needed a new female vocalist for his album You Are My Starship, and heard about Phyllis rocking a club on the Upper West Side. After catching her performance post-John Lucian's Carnegie Hall concert, Norman offered her the gig on the spot. When the title track, You Are My Starship, hit the airwaves, it didn't just get noticed. It went gold, and Phyllis's career skyrocketed along with Connors and Michael Henderson. The song's success on jazz radio was just the start. R&B stations quickly followed suit, and Phyllis and Connors struck gold again with their cover of the Stylistics' Betcha by Golly Wow. Phyllis wasn't about that typical 9-to-5 grind. From a young age, she saw her family's struggle as a curse and vowed not to get trapped in that cycle. She had zero interest in following her mom's footsteps, and marriage? Nope, not her thing. All she wanted was to grow up, be rich, and fiercely independent. Things weren't easy at home. After her dad left, her mom was crushed. Even with her strict grandma stepping in, it only made things worse, plunging her mom into deeper depression. Phyllis had enough and decided to move out to find her own way.
Did you always want to be a singer?
No.
You didn't?
My dream as a child was to be a rich.
When she hit college, it was clear she wasn't exactly ready for it. Her social life was all about partying, drinking, and smoking, which if you went to college, you'd know that's a sure route to bad grades. But her teacher saw something special in her and pushed hard to get her into prestigious jazz clubs like the Lendy Club and Crawford Grill. She slayed those performances, and everyone knew she was destined for greatness. It wasn't shocking when she bailed on college after just a year. She even took a break from music, trying out some clerical gigs at General Electric and later as a secretary at Westinghouse and Neighborhood Legal Services. But showing up late all the time made it clear that corporate life wasn't her jam. Deep down, she knew her true calling was far beyond the walls of a boring office job. She even became a babysitter and quit after 8 months. Now it's the late 70s and Phyllis Hyman is making waves. She auditions for TK Records, the parent company of Austin Records. Despite wowing the execs, negotiations tanked. Why? Because Phyllis demanded her independence and wasn't about to let anyone tell her how to run her show. This fierce stance put her at odds with other producers too. Fast forward to 1977. Her star power is on the rise. Even icons like Roberta Flack took notice and brought along her buddy Mick Jagger to catch Phyllis in action on tour. With her tall, stunning presence and a voice straight from the heavens, she was unstoppable. Her career got a further boost when her hubby and manager Larry landed her a Burger King commercial. Okay, this is going well so far. Her second album, Sing a Song, dropped with a bang. It featured Gonna Make Changes, a track she penned as a heartfelt tribute to activist Angela Davis. This song wasn't just a banger. It showcased Phyllis's commitment to using her music for social change. However, it stirred up some drama for the label. No surprise there. The song's bold stance created a buzz. Good for her message, but not so great for the label's PR. Buddha Records was already wobbling financially, and this just added to the chaos. Enter Clive Davis. Freshly booted from CBS Records and itching to prove his worth, he swooped in and scooped up Buddha Records for his new venture, Arista Records. With this move, Phyllis found herself on the Arista roster, ready for a new chapter. Davis had a reputation for making stars, and he had big plans for Phyllis. His goal? Push her towards pop to broaden her appeal. Phyllis dropped her first Arista album, Somewhere in My Lifetime, in 1979, with the title track produced by none other than Barry Manilow. But working with Clive wasn't all smooth sailing. There were serious ego clashes. Phyllis was used to calling the shots, whether with her band at Buddha Records or with her husband Larry. Clive, on the other hand, had a more hands-on, controlling approach. This dynamic led to tension, but Davis saw her star potential and was hell-bent on making her a pop sensation.
Somewhere in my lifetime.
While juggling these professional hurdles, Phyllis sought some calm in her personal life. She tied the knot with Larry in a Florida wedding around September 1978, hoping for some stability amid the industry storms. In 1979, Arista's big boss, Clive Davis, set her up with top producers James M. Toome and Reggie Lucas for her album, You Know How to Love Me. The title track? Total fire on the R&B scene and dance floors. But here's the kicker. As Arista started signing up big names like Dionne Warwick, Angela Bofill, and Aretha Franklin, Phyllis felt shoved to the side. Imagine being the queen bee at Buddha Records and then suddenly feeling like just another face in the crowd. That hit her hard, pushing her into a deep funk. Feeling the need for control, Phyllis decided to spread her wings. Despite Clive's concerns, she auditioned for and snagged a role in the Broadway musical Sophisticated Ladies. a nod to the legendary Duke Ellington. Clive was worried it might mess with her recording gigs, but Phyllis was all in. She shone on stage for 2 whole years, bagging the Theatre World Award for Best Newcomer. Talk about a major flex. Then she dropped another album with Arista called Can't We Fall in Love Again. The title track, a duet with Michael Henderson, shot up to number 9 on the R&B charts, her first solo top 10 hit. Phyllis was back, baby. But the grind started to wear her down. She became irritable, and things got tense at home with her husband, Larry. They argued about everything from infidelity rumors to starting a family. Phyllis had made some tough choices, including 2 abortions, prioritizing her career over family life, which brought up some deep-seated childhood pain. Eventually, they decided to call it quits, and their marriage ended.
Which is why I've concentrated on my work, because I can't afford to get overly depressed about the lack of a permanent man in my life.
In 1983, fresh off her Broadway success, Phyllis dropped Goddess of Love. The track Riding the Tiger became a hit in LGBTQ+ circles, ruling the drag show scene in the mid-'80s. But behind the scenes, things were messy. Her clashes with Clive Davis reached a breaking point. Despite her manager Glenda Gracia's efforts to mend fences, Clive wasn't having it. He had already signed Whitney Houston, Phyllis's replacement, signaling the end of Phyllis's run with Arista. This was a gut punch. Freshly divorced and feeling abandoned, Phyllis turned to drugs and alcohol to cope. Coke became her go-to escape as she spiraled deeper into depression. Her erratic mood swings led to a bipolar disorder diagnosis, but Phyllis didn't vibe with the meds that dulled her creative spark. Instead, she chose to self-medicate. In 1986, Phyllis dropped the album Living All Alone with heart-wrenching ballads like Old Friend. Around this time, she met Tad Finar at a supermarket, sparking a whirlwind romance. Fresh out of rehab, Phyllis felt rejuvenated. She even teamed up with Barry Manilow for Black and Blue on his Swing Street album, a collab born from Manilow's deep respect for her talent. But old habits die hard. She slipped back into her old vices: alcohol, coke, and a string of flings. This turmoil led to a attempt in June 1990, just a year after another failed attempt. She was back in rehab by January 1991, trying to find a way forward. June 11th, 1991, marked the release of Prime of My Life, her final album while she was alive. It was a career high, featuring her first #1 hit on the R&B charts and breaking into the Billboard Top 100. But sobriety was a constant struggle. The deaths of her mother and grandmother in 1993 threw her into a deep depression. In 1994, a broken foot from a performance sidelined her, leading to weight gain and a hit to her self-esteem. The industry's harsh glare on her looks didn't help, despite her timeless beauty. Financial troubles piled up, driven by her spending on addictions. She spiraled further, grappling with loneliness and existential despair, questioning the very purpose of her life amidst the crushing emptiness.
45-year-old Hyman was supposed to sing at the Apollo Theater tonight, but her assistant found her unconscious in her Midtown apartment this afternoon. She died at a nearby hospital.
Phyllis Hyman's tragic end shocked everyone who knew her. Apartment after taking a deadly mix of Tunal and vodka. Imagine she was found unconscious just hours before she was supposed to rock the stage at the Apollo Theater. Her note, heartbreaking as it was, expressed her exhaustion with life. She mentioned her love for those closest to her and signed off with a blessing from above. After an autopsy, Phyllis was cremated, and her friends and fans gathered at St. Peter's Lutheran Church in Manhattan to remember her incredible life. It's a sad reminder of the struggles she faced, even at the height of her fame. Rest in peace, Phyllis.